Hey guys, welcome to what's really going on today, Tuesday, March 18th. I wanted to go live as promised and talk to you guys about the latest breaking news and all the things going on. It's been kind of a busy day, busy weekend, a lot of news to keep track of. So I thought we'd just do what we've been promised to do, just go live around lunchtime, talk about all the news of the day, see what you think, and go from there. So there's a lot going on, as you can see. We just found out that Donald Trump had an hour-long phone call with Vladimir Putin, and they're supposedly making some deals. We don't know what those deals are, as always, of course, but we'll figure it out at some point. I'm sure they'll be happy to tell us what their big deal is. I don't know if we'll ever find out, but we will give it a good shot to kind of sort it out. So here we go. First, so as I mentioned this story, so what we're hearing right now is that after an hour-long phone call discussing a truce in Ukraine, that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, as his good buddy, have agreed to sort of a deal where I'm going to put you guys up on screen just before I get carried away. I want to be able to see your comments. So there you go. All right, cool. Now we're up. Cool. All right, now we're welcome. So they've agreed to a short deal, and the deal is not much. Okay, not much we wanted. What they're saying right now is the first step towards a movement towards peace, which will hope a real ceasefire, eventually include a maritime ceasefire in the Black Sea and a lasting end. Right now, what they're talking about is saying a ceasefire that includes stopping attacks on infrastructure, specifically energy infrastructure, for 30 days. Let me see. Partial ceasefire. They will cease strikes on Ukraine and energy sites. It was not made clear if Kyiv would agree to this, of course. They also agreed to immediately begin negotiations in the Middle East for a naval ceasefire in the Black Sea and an eventual full ceasefire, according to the summary of the call from the White House. Kind of a high stakes gambit, obviously you can see, for Trump to be doing this right now, and for Kyiv and Putin. Obviously, everybody's got a lot at stake here, and the future of their countries are on the line. But here we are. So it's an interesting twist. Obviously, what the answer will be, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Ukraine will go with it. If you were following along, you may have heard that they talked about, originally there was rumors that Trump was going to offer recognizing Crimea as part of Russia. We didn't see that today. Hopefully that's good news. I don't know. In the end, the goal, of course, is to stop people getting killed, stop the violence in Ukraine. But in the end, we also have to recognize that Ukraine is an existential fight for their survival as a nation. That's what Putin really wants. And so this is interesting. But obviously, no one wants to see war, no one wants to see death. But in this case, we'll see if it's the kind of thing that Kyiv's going to go for. There's so many questions unanswered. I mean, let's be very honest. They talked for an hour. Okay, that's a really long time. And so what they talked about between Putin and Trump, we don't know. There was, I saw a joke on I think Blue Sky. Somebody said, you know, it's tradition that they killed interpreters after every one of these meetings, and that's kind of dark. But I don't know, man. We don't ever seem to hear from the translators, do we? So we'll see what the notes say. We do know that Trump has a way of saying things that aren't quite official. But that's the news. So we'll see after his conversation with Putin if anything comes of it. Next story, Israel, of course, has resumed strikes on Gaza. Overnight, they began a series of strikes, something like over, across the entire of the Gaza. The Gaza Health Ministry is reporting that they've had over 400 Palestinians killed in these things. They can't get to them. Israel resumed these strikes because they say that Hamas has not begun the second phase of negotiations to continue the exchange of Israeli hostages and more. It's a pretty violent answer to that. When you're talking about 400 killed, these are massive strikes. We're not sure that there's a lot of concern they're going to resume the war after it had been a month-long ceasefire that had been working pretty well to this point. But here we are. So once again, they're hitting strikes. It continues as we speak. They want to increase force against Hamas. This all sounds familiar, I'm sure, to you and me. But that ceasefire that Trump was so very proud of has now apparently sort of fall apart. Now, one good thing we're hearing is that Hamas has not responded. At this point, Hamas has not had a counterstrike. Of course, sometimes it takes them a few minutes, a bit to counterstrike. We'll see. But at this point, this is only Israelis doing the bombing of Gaza to the tune of several hundred people killed. And we'll keep our eyes on that story. This is interesting. So, the judge, if you heard, several judges, of course, have ruled against the Trump administration. A big one being the fight that's ongoing right now over the deportations of Venezuelans and others to El Salvador, to the Surcat there, which is their prison for terrorism, they call it. Obviously, over 215 or 250 people were deported. We'll talk more about that shortly from the story I wrote today for Substack. Hope for your subscribers. Plug Substack. But they had over 250 deported. And a judge in San Francisco had been fighting this. The Northern District of California had been fighting this. They put out a couple of injunctions that were ignored. A matter of fact, it was shocking to see that when the president of El Salvador tweeted out, whoopsie, about them not being returned, our own vice president retweeted it, because that's the kind of respect they have for the courts. What really gets ugly is that Trump actually suggested, I think in a Truth Social post, as he does, that the judges who fight against him should be impeached for going against the commander-in-chief. And in a very incredibly rare move, Chief Justice Roberts woke up from his stupor and said, nah, that we've got 200 years of tradition where that's not part of it. And he's saying that, they have to have due process, et cetera, et cetera. What this show, it's very rare. I mean, and it's sort of funny. People are making a lot of jokes about the fact that, Roberts is like, oh, wait a minute, we made you a king, but not that much of a king. We shall see how that goes. It is hopeful that the Supreme Court may finally be waking up from their freaking nap to understand that the country is in danger, our democracy is in danger. But the idea that Trump is floating, he has all the power to deport people at will whenever he feels like it, with no due process whatsoever, that he has the right to do whatever he wants under his wartime powers, because the Alien Insurrection Act or the Alien Act was just a million things that are all being used to give him more power than he's earned by the Constitution. And of course, talk about impeaching judges who vote against him. This is very dangerous. I think a lot of people are arguing we crossed into constitutional crisis range on Saturday when this judge's order was ignored and they continued to deport these people and not return the flights as he ordered. I would argue that's true, that we are definitely in a constitutional crisis and we are not ready for that in any way. I guess I'll take hope of the fact that Justice Roberts did say something finally. Something, but apparently we'll see how that goes. Now this one, now we're delving back into the fucking crazy, guys. Okay. So back into the crazy world, they have appointed, this is unfucking believable, guys, because I'm a West Point grad, as you can see, got the ring and everything, ring knocker, graduate in 1987. Trump immediately gutted the board of visitors that oversee the military academies as soon as he arrived. These are oversight boards, have some power. They're not total power, but they do provide oversight of the service academies. Traditionally, these are graduates of honor, sitting members of Congress and the Senate and others, distinguished people, retired generals, whatever it may be. In this case, Trump decided to appoint, of all people, my good friend, Mike Flynn, okay? And you know how I have a very strong opinion about Mike Flynn. And even in the announcement that Trump put out on his Truth Social about these guys, he actually gives them all the wrong ranks. Even he promoted Mike Flynn to full general when he was a lieutenant general. It's just ridiculous things like that. In addition, on the West Point Board of Visitors, he's appointed David Beloivia, who was a MAGA guy, Mike Flynn, Wesley Hunt, who's a grad, Maureen Bannon, who is a West Point grad, but currently his job is to help her dad's podcast. She is Steve Bannon's daughter. Megan Mobbs is interesting. I mean, these are all people who have been appointed, but that's not where it really gets ugly. Where it really gets ugly is he's also appointed Walter Nauta, who was a Navy chief, he was an enlisted man. He's been appointed the Naval Academy overseas. Again, not even a commissioned officer, but he was Trump's valet. This is the guy who steamed valet his pants and was indicted for him for hiding all the top secret documents. He's now going to be on the board of visitors for the Naval Academy. And most disgusting of them all, Charlie Kirk, who is obviously a homophobe, transphobe, everything you can imagine, everything wrong with our country. Charlie Cook and his fucking gums have now been appointed to the U.S. Air Force Academy Board of Visitors as well. Disgusting is a word. You're right. I can see that. I agree. By the way, if you've got questions, I am monitoring the chat, so throw some questions in there. I'm happy to answer them. But it's just disgusting, you guys, especially Mike Flynn. Mike Flynn is a convicted criminal. Okay. He was pardoned but he pled guilty to his crimes, and now the son of a bitch is going to be overseeing the United States Military Academy, our oldest military academy, the place where we've graduated generals from Patton to Eisenhower to MacArthur to Grant, dumbasses like me and others. And that guy, Mike Flynn, is going to be part of providing oversight to my military academy. It's just so fucked up, guys. There's no nice way to say that. It's just fucked up beyond belief. Now, I wanted to highlight a story that if you are reading the Substack, I hope you are reading the Substack. I hope a lot of you are reading the Substack. I appreciate you subscribers. This is a story I posted today. So for those following it, on that Saturday deportation, they deported 250 folks back to El Salvador, to what's called the Surcot, which is their their now infamous prison that's supposed to can hold 30,000 of the worst. All the gang members, all the drug dealers are being put there. We have paid $6 million to the president of El Salvador to house our deportees that are allegedly part of this Venezuelan gang, TDA. Not all of them were. What they're finding now in sworn statements is that just a very few of the deportees were confirmed members of this gang who had even committed crimes. Yes, there were. And they're highlighting the hell out of those. Like, one guy has been accused of murder. One guy was accused of sexual assault. But when you really dig in their statements, you realize they're talking onesies and twosies of 250. We are finding out from sources that upwards of 100 of the deportees of Venezuelan descent who are being accused of being members of gangs were not. They were normal asylum seekers who just happened to have tattoos. If you read my story on today's Substack, you see where one guy just got a tattoo in Dallas. It was a rose. But the Border Patrol guys or the DHS guys said, oh, yeah, that's a gang sign. That's a gang sign. So you're a gang member. And they've sent them to the most abusive prison. You can see them. You see the video. I won't show any, but they're being abused. They're being kicked. Their heads are being held down by two men as they shave their heads, because every prisoner there, their head is shaved, and they're thrown in cells that hold upwards of 30, 40, 50 men who are violent criminals. It's really a disgusting thing. And your taxpayers are paying for it. And it's all about getting video. And this whole thing stems from that ridiculous story out of Aurora, Colorado, that TDA had taken over. First, the story was an apartment building, then it was an entire block, and then basically Trump ran on saying that TDA had taken over all of Aurora, Colorado, which was all bullshit. So now we're governing against right-wing memes. But here's the part I really wanted to show you guys, and this is what this government's all about. This is when Caroline Leavitt, our official spokesman, was asked about these deportations and what can happen. And just watch the whole thing. Watch the end especially.
Biden administration abused to facilitate the mass illegal entry of illegal immigrants into our country. It was like a fast pass at Disneyland. That's not happening under this administration. We are encouraging illegal immigrants to actively self-deport to maybe save themselves from being in one of these fun videos. Sure. John.
One of these fun videos. Smile. Yeah, she's laughing. Oh my gosh, these fun videos. Isn't it hilarious? It's so funny putting innocent people in chains, sending them to an El Salvadoran torture prison and seeing them abused. Oh my God, fucking hilarious, right? She's a fucking Christian, she calls herself. Surprisingly, if you guys noticed in that video, she's not wearing her usual giant freaking cross. Must have hurt too much burning against her skin as she lies and smears decent people. Dozens of stories are coming out now that these men were almost all innocent. They came here as asylum. Yeah, some of them came illegally. Many were applying for asylum under the special rules for Venezuelans escaping the government there. Yet Trump got his numbers. It's all about the numbers. And what's really sick about the story, if you read it, you guys, I hope you will read our Substack. If you read the story at the end, it's Marco Rubio saying that, well, if they were wrong, if they were shipped out wrong, El Salvador will sort that out and deport them to Venezuela. We're paying El Salvador $6 million to house these people. My gut tells me we're telling them per prisoner. We're paying them per prisoner. What's the motivation for El Salvador to decide if any of these people are actually innocent of what they've been accused of and send them to their place of origin? None, right? So we're paying for folks to be imprisoned and tortured who are completely innocent. of what they're being accused of being gang members or violent. That is a very fucking dangerous place. On top of the fact we ignored a judge's ruling to let them go there. So some really ugly shit from this bunch of jackasses. Now, here's an update on a story I did do, and then I'll let you guys go. These are pretty supposed to be short updates, and I really appreciate you being here. This is a fascinating story. You may have seen my post on this one 2 days ago, where they have been going through the military websites and designating stories that were DEI related. And one of the ones they caught was the story of Major General Rogers here, Charles Calvin Rogers. Major General Rogers was a Vietnam veteran. He was a lieutenant colonel in Vietnam on Halloween of 1968. On that night, his artillery battalion of the 1st 5th Division was, if you guys know artillery, those are the big cannons. They were stationed on a fire base near the Cambodian border. Intelligence picked up heavy activity on the Ho Chi Minh Trail just across the border. Obviously, at the time, the rules of engagement didn't allow us to shoot in Cambodia, but he prepared his men for attack, and sure enough, a giant attack came that night, Halloween 1968. A full battalion of North Vietnamese soldiers attacked his unit, broke through the perimeter. He led the counterattacks. He led the defense to the point where he was actually taking up positions and firing, 3-man firing bases, foxholes to fight back. He was wounded not once, not twice, 3 times. Lieutenant Colonel Rogers was injured during that battle. Finally, after the 3rd time, he was evacuated back to his headquarters, and he continued to lead his battalion in fighting back the North Vietnamese, and they did repel the attack. He was awarded the Medal of Honor by that famous, everybody knows how much this guy loved everybody knows how much this one guy loved DEI, and of course, wasn't racist at all, Richard fucking Nixon. So Richard Nixon, in May of 1970, awarded the Medal of Honor to then Lieutenant Colonel Rogers. In their hunt for anything called DEI, they labeled his medal a DEI Medal of Honor and removed it from the DOD's website. There was a story about it called Medal of Honor Monday. Well, I guess they got our message, guys, because a lot of us were raging about this. God knows I was raging about it. I talked about it on the Sunday show. I wrote about it. I did stuff for Vote Vets on it. And apparently they've restored a few of those pages. But we still have found out it's not ending. They labeled all the Navajo code talker stories, some dozen of them, as DEI. You guys, they removed the story about Ira Hayes, one of the guys who raised the flag at Iwo Jima, one of the most iconic moments in the history of the United States Marine Corps. One of the flag raisers, of course, was Latino. Ira Hayes. They removed the story about him, labeling it DEI. One of the flag raisers. He's in a fucking statue at Arlington National Cemetery, the Marine Memorial, and they removed stories on DEI and labeled them DEI. That is exactly who Pete Hegseth is, and the whites only DOD. I keep wanting to do a photo of a sign on the Pentagon that says whites only, but that's the kind of stuff they're doing. So I am taking power. I do see this as a positive story because apparently our Raising Hell did bring those back. So we're going to keep on raising hell with all of you guys. I love you joining. They did Doreen, they did supposedly put it back. That's the story, is that they have restored those web pages after the outcry. But labeling a Medal of Honor recipient DEI, there is no low that they won't go. I won't show the pictures. They had Conor McGregor there. So for St. Patrick's Day, these dipshits had Conor McGregor, the Irish UFC fighter, who was literally sued in court in Ireland and found civilly liable for rape of a woman and had to pay her several $1,000s as a rapist. That's who they've decided to feature for St. Patrick's Day. Because although every other observance of Black History Month and Women's History Month and Latino History Month, those have been deleted, but still, Pete Hegseth did celebrate fucking St. Patrick's Day, the Irish holiday. So that's those guys. So there you have it. That's the news. That's all the news is fit to print. I would love to, if you've got any questions before I let you go, I just want to come on, have a conversation with you guys a little bit. We're going to do this regularly about lunchtime every day, based on when we're all available to hang out together. I just want to come on Substack, give you a news update of the day. If you're not getting news, I know it's a busy time. If you have any questions for me, we'll start sending those. For some reason, the emails still aren't going out when we go live from the studio. So maybe I'll do a couple of these on my phone, so at least everybody gets the email and decides to join us. In the meantime, you can catch the video. I'll post this right afterwards. That'll go out by email. It's also located on our YouTube channel. For those who don't know, of course, we have a great set of shows. If you're not following us on the On Democracy channel, we have amazing shows. This Sunday show is shaping up to be amazing. I'm actually hearing from my booker right now. We're going to have Liz Oyer, who is if you heard the story, that she is the attorney that was pushed out of DOJ because she wouldn't sign off on giving Mel Gibson his gun back. So she's going to join the show. I mean, we've got some cool guests on this show every week. Last week, we've had Harry Dunn. We had Howard Dean. If you didn't see last week's On Democracy Sunday, that's On Democracy Sunday, now being broadcast right here on Substack as well, live. Yep, I see so we'll be seeing that. So make sure you sign up for alerts. Best way to do that is download the app on your phone, the Substack app, turn on your notifications. You'll get notified when we go live for any broadcast or any show or anything like that, so you can get it. So with that, I'm not going to take much more time. I really appreciate you guys joining for what we're starting to call it What's Really Going On. And I'm just so happy to be with you guys. I'm here every week, all the time, get a chance. I appreciate your following. I appreciate you guys. Remember, sign up for our Substack. If you're not a subscriber now, your paid subscription pays for all this fancy stuff. And I'm like one of those guys who always needs a new camera or something. So we appreciate your paid subscription. If you're willing to upgrade the $7 a month or $72 a year, that really goes to the hard work of my booker, who just texted me to let me know we've got another guest for on Democracy on Sunday. Again, 11 a.m. Sunday. And I want to also, before I go, if you're not aware of it, I also host shows for Vote Vets. Vote Vets, of course, is the voice of progressive veterans with millions of supporters. We do live shows for them as well on Fridays. We also do videos explaining issues of the day. We just announced a huge ad campaign for Vote Vets that's going to target veterans who are Republican members of Congress who are not fighting back against the outrageous actions of Doge. So if you don't follow me, right? If you don't follow Vote Vets, right? That's at Vote Vets. Be sure to follow us there too. If you're not sick of me yet, that's a great place to. You might be sick of me. I don't know. I seem to be everywhere these days, but I'd love you join us at Vote Vets as well as on Democracy channel on YouTube and of course right here. So with that, that's all the news that's fit to print. That's what's really going on, guys. I really appreciate you joining me. I can't wait to see you again. We'll try to do this, well, pretty often, almost every day. We'll see you next time. Thanks.